Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sorry about that, people. We're having some major technical issues. Sorry about that. Shout out to Google Chrome for making my life really, really difficult. I appreciate you. And still not on Instagram. It's a darn shame. I don't know how this works. In any event, so we're just not on IG today. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Pardon me, sweating profusely, trying to figure out this whole situation. It's been a shooting day, so taking the studio down, taking it someplace else, bringing it back, setting it back up. And no excuse, I'll be honest with you, I got back from where I was, and I fell asleep because, damn it, I was tired. All right, so let me get to a couple other things really, really important. I want to give a shout out to one of our shout outs for family members, Brother Bilal Salahuddin. His niece returned back to Allah uh, this week, and he was going for her janazah, so he probably won't be on the show. But we just want to shout him out and let you know we have arms around you. Like we say, in Lalehi wa in Allahi rajaun. From God we come, from Allah we come, to Allah we return. I think it bears witness that very sensitive because it's a very young sister, seems to be very dynamic, and these things. We don't know how these things happen, but they happen. So I guess that's where we are in this situation. On top of that, we are really, really geared up. We are. I want to give a shout out before I get into the shout out show. I'll give a shout out to our team here at Permissible Laughter Media for putting together yet another Muslim Comedy Festival, Preacher Moss Muslim Comedy Festival, our third annual. I'm extremely excited. We'll be in Dallas. Already getting calls from people that want to hang out in Dallas. I'll also be at Muslim Unity Day on Saturday in San Jose, California. So I'll be performing. Then I'll come back on Sunday to do the ISNA big entertainment night on Sunday. So I got a big I got a big weekend, but I'm going to be making dua for all of you since I'll be traveling, giving you guys the traveler's dua. All right, so let me get to the point. Today, the Shout Out Show is talking about understanding alternative candidates. This is the primary election season. We're less than 100 days, or less than 80 days, as a matter of fact, before we choose another president, a new president, or we'll choose the president we had before. That's not even to the point. Let me break this down to you. It's really, really interesting. I'm in D.C. on Saturday. I'm resting in D.C. on Saturday. I get a call from a good friend of mine, Dr. Bilal Ware, UC, not Berkeley. He's up north, but Santa Barbara. He's at UC Santa Barbara. He's a professor. He's been on the show before. Lovely brother, love him to death. DC dude, hyping him up. Very intelligent. So that Thursday before I come to DC, you guys know I lost my cousin Frank. Maybe I'll be pleased with him. I got a call from Bilal, said he was going to be flying to Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, wow. So what had happened, brothers and sisters, is that, and I'm conflating this a little bit, he is now the VP candidate for the Green Party. Jill Stein is the presidential candidate for the Green Party. Bilal Ware is the vice presidential candidate for the Green Party. Cornel West has a Muslim sister, African-American Muslim sister, as his VP. You guys work out the specifics and conspiracy theories all you want to. It was interesting because on last Saturday, I'm resting. I'm trying to, rest up. I get a call. It's Bilal, Saturday morning. Hey, what's going on? He's in Philadelphia, and they're trying to do a fundraiser in Philadelphia for the Green Party. I was sort of like, I don't know, man. I just buried my cousin. I was like, you know what? I'll go. But you know what? I went because I really want to see what this process was up front. Somebody who was in the fray, even though it was third-party candidate, alternative candidate, he's in the fray. And, just watching it, it's a lot of hope. It's a lot of rah-rah, but what you begin to understand is the nomenclature of these groups. Nomenclature of these groups is interesting because nobody's giving them a better chance in hell for any of these candidates, Cornel West, Jill Stein, that they're going to come nowhere near the presidency. That's the way that the traditional political structures are set up. The Democrats And the Republicans have always made sure that there's never going to be a room for a third party unless that third party can somehow be a benefit of to the major party. That's the way it goes. And I was listening, and a couple of things just hit me, man. Just really, really hit me. And I mean, in a different type of way. You know, and I'm going to begin this, and I'm going to start the show in a minute, but I'm going to begin this by telling you my first alternative candidate that I can ever remember being spoken about in my house with reverence, being spoken about in my house with a sense of hope, was a black woman named Shirley Chisholm. Now, Shirley Chisholm was a congresswoman. She was smart. She was direct. And she spoke to the fact that what was out there in terms of political choices didn't speak to the masses. This is important because she's coming out of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. She knows specifically what she's talking about. And then I can jump forward in my mind to 1988 when Jesse Jackson was running for president of the United States, and everybody took him for a joke, but he placed really high in the Michigan primary. Everybody took him for a joke. Everybody began to worry about, and this led to this whole thing about what does Jesse want? Because people saw him as a potential change maker in that political race, that Jesse Jackson could pull votes from different parts of the population, mainly African American population, and twist an election. I want you to hold on to all that stuff because I'm going to try and put it together you in a very, very pragmatic way to talk about what my concerns are. We're talking about third party candidates. Don't move. I got to pull it all together, but don't move. Sorry again for the technical difficulty. I'll try and figure it out. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a computer guy, but I'm trying to figure it out by next week. Satana, let's start the show. It's Preacher Moss on the Shout Out Show. All right. Thank you so much for coming back. Let me jump into my shout out show, my comments, my brothers and sisters who day ones. Want to give a shout out to Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Ree. I owe you a call. Apologies. The whole thing with Corey and the show got a little mixed up. Maurice called me on the wrong day about something different. So I apologize. I'll talk to you about that. Peace and blessings to you and Derek and Juwan. Thank you so much for supporting us. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm sorry. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our main man, Altaf Rashid, tuning in all the way from Toronto, Canada, one of our day ones. We call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. What's going on, brother? Thank you so much for joining us. And we got my little brother, Johnny L. Thomas, better known as JT to me. What's going on, little lock? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, we got family in the house. My main man, Adam Khan from Canada, my West Indian boy. What's going on, Ak? I'm glad to see you on the show, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for the email, man. And I know I got to get back to you. So forgive your brother. This week is a little crazy, but I will get back to you. Hope you're well. And again, I want to give a shout out to executive producer, Sister Satana Whitfield, who worked with me on so many different projects. You know, I give her a hand all the time and give her kudos all the time. And this will not be any time different. You know, the whole idea of trying to do these strategic lifts with shows and the shout out show and things is not easy. And it's hard to find talented people and definitely damn sure hard to find loyal people. So we appreciate Sister Satana shouting you out. And again, shout out to Brother Bilal and his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton, Salahuddin. Hey, brother, we know how it is. Duas to you. And peace and blessings to Sister Ahmed. And, you know, I don't know. I'm going to say, I know what you're going through. I don't know, brother. But, you know, we're here if you needed it. Shout out show is your family, too. Okay, let's get to this thing about third parties. Green Party, Cornel West is an independent. We have all these parties. Okay, here's the one thing All the parties have. So I went to go do this fundraiser. Here's the thing they don't have. None of them have money. To get into the race requires an inordinate amount of money to run a political campaign. None of them have any money. And it goes to the fact that the people who have the greatest ideals, the greatest integrity, and the greatest ideals, the greatest integrity, the most energy, they don't have money because ideal, integrity, and energy are not things that you want in a political race where you're dealing with Democrats and Republicans. Preach what he's saying. I'm saying not that the deck is stacked against them. I'm just saying they don't get into the deck. Traditionally, if you begin to understand the whole idea about third parties, is if a third party gets close enough, they may or may be able to put a couple of agenda items on somebody else's campaign. The last person who was really able to do that was Bernie Sanders, but this time around they didn't even reach out to Bernie. Kamala Harris was confirmed as the Democratic nominee without an open space or open on argument or anything like that. It was no contest. She was elected. That's something that we can deal with later. My point is understanding this, particularly from the Democratic Party. And I'll speak to the Democratic Party for this because the Democratic Party lives in the sphere that, in some regards, there's a chance, a very deep chance, that one of these third parties can connect and potentially pull away from voters. This is very real in the state of Wisconsin, a state that Donald Trump won by maybe 23,000 votes. Okay, so you take 23,000 votes and you take a candidate like Cornel West, well-spoken African-American scholar in Wisconsin. There are three pockets where you're going to find black people in Wisconsin: Racine, Milwaukee, and like 6 people in Madison. What am I saying? The nomenclature is now with Kamala Harris that there's a balance. I would say that prior to Kamala Harris becoming a nominee, that Biden would have lost the state. Let's just say Biden would have lost the state. Now you have a situation where not only Cornel West had to fight to be on the ballot in Wisconsin, but Jill Stein and her candidate, the Green Party, had to do the same thing. And they're on. The issue is, can they pull votes away? Now, here's the thing where it gets tricky. They're literally only trying to pull votes away from the Democrats because the Democrats appear to be the only people who can house their requests, their platforms, their concerns. Republicans are not listening. They're not going to that house. They're going to this house because they believe they're not going long enough. They're going to be invited in and sit down and have tea. The reality is, and let's be honest, and I'm going to get real here in a minute. The reality is that the Democrats want nothing to do with third parties. Nothing to do with third parties. And as the clock ticks down, just as RFK demonstrated when he closed down his campaign and endorsed Trump, everybody's scrambling for a position. This is where it gets tricky. Pay attention to me because I worked on this all day. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live. When it comes to elections, you pull the curtain, you pull the lever, you punch your card. This is what people don't understand. That you are expected to vote your best interest. Hear what I'm saying? You're expected to vote your best interest. This sounds bad, but it's true. When you're talking about political footballs, you have Hezbollah, and you have Hezbollah, and you have Lebanon, and you have all these people fighting Israel. Israel is going into occupied West Bank. All these things in the United States, people are going to vote their best interest. So you could be pro-Palestinian, you could be anti-Israel, you could be a whole lot of things, brothers and sisters. But understand, in America, you're expected to vote your best interest unless you are African American or poor. Let me say it again. You're expected to vote your best interest unless you're African American or you are poor, or you are defined as underrepresented or defined as poor, underserved, underrepresented. And here's the thing: because in an election, there's two type of voters. Here we go. There's two type of voters. There's a voter that's seen as a consumer, and there's a voter that's seen as a producer. Producer voters vote differently than consumer voters. Producer voters have an understanding that whatever they're doing, their vote produces, or I want to say produces or ties into production. Here in the United States, production international. When I say production, means that ideas are being generated and ideas are being executed. The consumer vote. The consumer vote is different because people assume that you are going to simply consume what they tell you and you will vote that way. So a lot of people in the Democratic Party who didn't want to vote for Biden, the mantra was you gotta defeat Trump. Now here's the thing: I gotta defeat Trump, but you're offering me nothing in space of allowing me to vote in my best interest. Just the idea of saying defeat Trump is telling me you're not worried about me voting in my best interest. When I pull that curtain, you're not worried about me voting about my children's school, not worried about me voting about health care, retirement, the economy, because I'm not seen as that person. I'm not seen as a person that produces to those particular issues. Thus, here we are now. And even the third party, and I don't care if I get in trouble for this, even the third party has approached these underserved, underrepresented, poor Black folks, have approached them in a way that a lot of the other parties have approached them. They look at us as consumers. They say, here are the basic, and they'll tell us these things are in your best interest. And a lot of them do align with our best interests. But here's the rub. You can't get me there. You can't get me there. So the conundrum is, do I vote for a party who has an ice cube chance in hell of even getting close to affecting policy? You see, my thing is, all the third parties need to frame or develop a framework where they become lobbyists. And everything that they're talking about, they accrue money to be able to affect change, to be able to influence elections, to be able to speak to lawmakers. Because if you don't have money during the election, chances are you don't have money any other time either. So the whole time of being a third party is like, in politics, it's like a side hustle compared to the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, let me throw this out here. Oh, hey, let me give some shout outs. What's going on, Brother Eric? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brother. Hope everything's going well down in South Kakalaki. I don't know. Let's see. Amore Della Mia Via. I don't know. Okay, I guess. I don't know, Satana. I figured it's okay. I put it up there. Hope you're doing well. But let me get back to my point. And here's the thing that's really, it shouldn't be a shock to you. Here's the thing that's going to shock to you. Two things I've thought about. I really thought about the fact that if Joe Biden had stayed in the race, I still believe in my heart of hearts it would have gotten close, because there's power in incumbency. There's power in incumbency. The times that there's not power in incumbency is when you have a candidate like Trump, or you have a severely wounded candidate like Jimmy Carter going back some time ago, right? Or even Al Gore. That election was stolen. We're not going to get into that. But he was vice president. He wasn't the incumbent president. But here's the thing that I think we ought to be thinking about. How are you framing yourself? Hear me now. How are you framing yourself as a voting asset? I'm going to move the whole idea of consumer out of the way. How are you framing yourself as a voting asset? And here's the framework or the characteristics of a voting asset. A voting asset will, at the right point in time, vote their interests, but at the same time acknowledge other interests. But I can't rob Peter to pay Paul and then not eat. Election processes don't work that way. You know, the late great Dick Gregory, my mentor, God bless him, lamented openly that the African American community, with all this money, all the contributions to the United States GDP, we're talking about we contribute over $1 trillion. He said we never took a percentage of that and developed our own pack, our own political pack, Black pack, Negro pack, Kwanzaa pack, backpack. Hell, we never developed it. And I'm watching something, you know, because I flip through Instagram every once in a while. There's a rapper. I don't really know him well. I know one of his songs. There's a rapper named Young Jock, JOC, Young Jock. And he was in some type of interview. I think he was being interviewed. And he talked about Donald Trump recruiting rappers. He talked about Donald Trump recruiting rappers. And his point was Trump came to Atlanta and got all these rappers. He said, you know how the intellectual power of Atlanta, just the intellectual milestone of the historically black colleges, doctors, lawyers, surgeons, all these things. He said he comes to the bottom rung to get rappers. And I thought about that. And I said, why would he do that? And then it hit me. Because if you're not a star rapper, if you're not a rapper that owns his masters, that's developed their own label, that has ostensibly some level of verifiable entrepreneurship and freedom in the marketplace, then you're a consumer. You're a consumer. Think about this. And this may be a little bit off the track, but I think it connects. Because these people that we're talking about, they're heavily influencing our youth. These people, imagine that Donald Trump is talking to rappers who influence youth. Do you see the through line here? So we're not introducing these young kids to doctors and lawyers. We know we can get these kids on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these type of things to frame their political appetites. And the Republicans, and in this case, Donald Trump and Make America Great Again, are putting these rappers up who represent not rap. You can listen to the lyrics and a lot of these things. They don't respect women. Sometimes they don't respect hard work. Sometimes they don't respect the law. I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about the content of it. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. They could be totally different people. But my point is, when anybody puts these records out, this is what you're hearing. You can produce a generation of dumbed down youth listening to that music, thinking that it's cool. Right now, Donald Trump is being sued by everybody because every time he goes on stage, he takes somebody's record without their approval and walks on it. 50 Cent, Many Men, Isaac Hayes' song. They took Beyonce's song. Everybody had to send them cease and desist. You said, what's the problem? What's the problem? Why can't I do it? Well, you know what? It's because he doesn't see them as people who are producers, people who own their records, produce their records, people who own their art. And that is the problem with the Democrats, the Republicans, and it's fast approaching, but I hope it doesn't do it, these third-party candidates. This weekend, inshallah, one of our special guests at the comedy show will most likely be Dr. Cornel West. I may have him come up and say a few words. I met him some time ago. Awesome guy. I like him. But he's a realist. And when we talk, he knew that him running was not that he was running to win. There's a difference. He's running to make a difference. He's running to understand that if I can shine light on these things, much the same with some of our pioneers, they're not up there to win and be rich or da-da-da. It's that they have to get to a certain height on the mountaintop and yell so people know that things are going on that they can't see. And in some regards, they can't comprehend. Sometimes it's right in front of their face. So understanding third parties is kind of depressing. It's difficult to sit in a room and hear people talk about fair pay for women, uh, human rights for First Nations, reparations. I mean, all this stuff. You know, ceasefire in Gaza, arms embargo. It's hard to sit there because it seems so idealistic. Looking around, knowing that they might not be able to pay for the banquet hall. And this is not to deter anybody. In fact, I'm saying maybe we need to take a good look at some of these third parties and just understand the nature of them. Understand the nature of the third parties and the fact that maybe we have to do a hard assessment and difficult conversation with ourselves and understand that in this whole process, are you a consumer voter? Or are you a producer voter? Are you a consumer voter? Or are you a producer voter? You have to ask the question. And you have to be honest with yourself. I like a lot of what I heard with the Green Party, and it was cool. It was almost like it was hippie-ish, it was like a hippie thing, but when we're talking about rubber meet the road, and we're talking about getting into these parties, understanding the true nature of political process, they don't have a shot. They don't have a shot. So I'm going to ask everybody as we get to the close. You may not join any of these third parties, but I'm going to encourage you to do two things. One, I'm going to encourage you to vote. Do not stay home. Vote your interest. You may not like a candidate, but go down ballot and vote for better schools for your children. You may not like a candidate, but vote for higher pay. You may not like a candidate, but vote for equity in home sales, being able to purchase a home. Vote for better prescription medicine for our seniors, that they be taken care of, and that the net for the Social Security be protected and not go away in a couple of years. Vote those interests that are important to you. And maybe we will move from the fact that if we're voting our interests, guess what happens? Our interests become important. So listen, that's it. Next time I see you guys, it'll be next week. It'll be September. Alhamdulillah. The festival will be over. Inshallah, it'll be a success. Again, I want to give a shout out to Sister Tana who's been working with me. I want to give a shout out to Ann at FedEx Kinko's, working with a brother. I appreciate you. I will pour Ann out. We'll give a shout out to our sponsors, Omar Kawaja, law offices. Want to give a shout out to Zakat Foundation, our title sponsor, Tarifa Altar, Mate, Isna, Muslim Aid, Bayou City Staffing, Mgage, Amana Trust, of course, Banneker Ventures, Our House, Our Shop, Our Owning the Masters, Permissible After Records, and of course, Permissible After Media, LLC, and our festival, of course, Preacher Moss Muslim Comedy Festival people. I'm going to give a shout out to Halal Fest. I want to give a shout out to everybody. I'll see you in Dallas, and I also will see you in San Jose, California, Great America. We're going to have a good time. Looking forward to seeing you back. Haroony Tunes. I'm going to do a food segment, and it's going to do a food segment while I test some food. You guys, I want to get a tape for you because y'all know I have very limited taste. I can't do the hot stuff. I can't do the beef. I guess I'm just going to test some flavor water or something like that. I don't know. But we will see you guys next week, inshallah. Thank you so much. Again, heartfelt condolences to Brother Bilal. Thank you for letting me know. Other than that, and anybody else that's going through anything, man, I'm making dua for you. Have a great week. We will see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Moss, and down on Google Chrome.